Hello everybody, Dokkan Assets here. Today we are back with another Dokkan Battle animation analysis video. And ladies and gentlemen, I have been looking forward to this one. Today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new World Tournament LR, the Pilaf Gang. Now, the last World Tournament LR that we got was LR Jackie Chun, and from recalling and looking back at his animations a little bit, they were pretty good, right? Obviously, the thing to keep in mind is that, of course, we can't grade free-to-play units, and it's kind of weird because, like, the Pilaf Gang in this case, right, is a free-to-play unit, but it always feels weird calling World Tournaments free-to-play units, even though they are, but it's like, it's not just as easy as farming the unit, you know what I mean? But regardless, though, for these World Tournament LRs, not only is it always super exciting to get more Dragon Ball based content, right? Because obviously, a lot of the time, Dragon Ball tends to get shafted in Dokkan, unfortunately. But usually the World Tournament shenanigans, of course, because it's based a lot around Dragon Ball, tends to give us some good content, which is what we have in store for today. And as well, obviously, we have to keep in mind going into this that this is a World Tournament LR and kind of think about the animations in that regard. Now, that being said, right, as we go through these one time before we go through them in slow-mo, these animations are actually really good. I'm not gonna lie, I was very much so looking forward to these animations because obviously as soon as we saw that it was a new World Tournament LR, I was already excited. But then when I saw it was the Pilaf Gang, and technically the Pilaf machine, by the way, fantastic art on the actual card art there, I was really excited because obviously Pilaf does not have any sort of modern card. Right? He doesn't have any world. I don't think he has a standalone World Tournament card either. Yeah, he does not have, to my knowledge, any modern card. And what's interesting about these essays too is that they're almost more like a Pilaf machine card rather than being the Pilaf Gang, which it's technically both because obviously they're the ones piloting the Pilaf machine, but it is definitely more of a Pilaf machine type of card, which I guess at the end of the day is probably a good thing because obviously then in the future, if they want to give us an individual Pilaf or Mai or Shu from the Dragon Ball era, right, then they can obviously easily do that and not have to worry about the essays being taken up by something else. Before we get into it, as per usual, don't forget that I am by no means an animation professional. I just take a look at these animations for fun. I look at Dokkan assets all the time, so I think I have a pretty good idea at what makes them pretty good. With that being said, of course, thank you to the boy Dokkan World for providing the essays for this video. Definitely check this video out, and of course, Dokkan World's channel. I mean, if you're not subbed to Dokkan World, what are you doing, bro? Of course, linked in the description below. And if you do enjoy the video, don't forget to like and subscribe as well. Check out the links in the description. Got a Discord server down there where we talk about fun Dokkan Battle stuff. But let's go ahead and get into these animations. So they only have 3. Which is okay. I was kind of hoping that they were going to have an active skill too, if I'm being honest, or I guess maybe more like I was hoping they would have an active skill, but in this case we do get an intro animation for them, which is pretty cool. And this, ironically enough, is really the only part where the Pilaf Gang themselves is kind of like present mainly, because obviously then they go in the robot. So the introduction little shot here is pretty cool with the 3 of them standing there. And then we get them all bringing their arms down to hold up a various different capsule, which is obviously the different pieces of the Pilaf machine. Pretty cool little animation, and I love this cut here to this with showing their individual hands, right, throwing up the capsule like this with the very Dragon Ball-esque sound effect. Because it's weird to call this a sound effect because obviously it's not sound, but it's like a visual sound effect, you know what I mean? And then obviously after Shu, right, you have Pilaf throw his, and you have Mai throw hers. I love that little bit of animation right there. Not only do they, with them throwing it actually looks really good, but I like that they kind of follow up the shot of all of them there, right, standing together with kind of each of their individual hands. And it's a pretty cool little bit of perspective as well. It's just a little bit of an angle that I feel like you don't get too often. Then obviously we have the pop of the capsule, right, with of course the very Dragon Ball-esque effect there. And you have this super cool kind of anime effects with the flashes in the background as each of the pieces of the Pilaf machine is shown. And I will say it is really cool with this section of animation. You do have a little bit of minimal movement on all of the different pieces of the Pilaf machine, right? Like on Shu's machine here, you can see he moves the arms a little bit, right? On Mai's machine here, she moves the claw and kind of squats down a little bit there. And then, of course, for Pilaf's, he moves the arms and the legs a little bit. So pretty cool little bit of detail, right? That I feel like is almost unnecessary, but I'm just happy it's included. And then, of course, you get the three of them stanced up in the same poses that they were kind of introduced in. So very cool intro animation. And obviously, with the intro animations, the whole idea of them is to try and introduce the character to the, you know, audience or the player, I guess, in this case, right? And I think that this animation definitely does a very, very good job of that. I love this animation, by the way. It's super fluid of Pilaf obviously pointing the Pilaf machine hand forward, right? With a little bit of the zoom in at the end. And of course, the nice little effect that you can actually see Pilaf's expression changes in the Pilaf machine. And not to mention, it isn't just like one PNG, because you can kind of see the perspective on his, I don't know what that thing is called around his neck that like royalty wears, but it kind of moves around a little bit in coordinates with how he's moving, so that is pretty cool. As well, obviously, another really cool detail about this is that obviously Dokkan absolutely nailing it with these animations and style. You can see that all of the characters' color is a little bit distorted and kind of like a little bit blue, because obviously all of the windows of the Pilaf machine are kind of tinted blue there, so that's a pretty cool little detail as well. Moving past the card art in the video, we now go to the 12 key super attack, which I actually think this card is really cool from this perspective, right? I was going to say that perspective. This, or you can give it that. Anyway, before I get copyright claimed, it's cool that the 12 key super attack is all of them as separate pieces of the Pilaf machine, and then you'll see when we get to the 18 key super attack, it is all of them combining the Pilaf machine, which is really cool. So you have a very similar beginning to the 12 key as you do to the end, right? It's not exactly the same. You can see they're a little bit of a distance farther from each other right there than they are here. Excuse me, here I accidentally clicked to the card art, right? It's a little bit different here to here, but obviously it's kind of supposed to be like the same scene on screen. You have obviously the three of them standing there, right? With Pilaf then commanding everybody move out, right? Which is cool, obviously kind of continuing off the intro animation, which I quite like. We then have Pilaf fly up into the sky, bring the arms of the robot in, and then turn into a little ball and fly forward. This animation all looks very smooth, right? I gotta give this thing you know, the absolute like Dokkan Assets seal of approval is I swear I did not see any animation that looked choppy or cheap looking in here. Even if these essays aren't necessarily the craziest thing, and you can definitely tell that they're maybe a little bit more on the free-to-play side kind of than you know, like a premium Dokkan Fest unit or a premium Dokkan Fest LR or something like that. I don't think there's a single part of animation in here, at least that I saw in my first watch through, that I was like, ooh, that looks a little bit strange. It all looks very fluid, which is nice. I will say, the one thing about this card that is a little bit off-putting is the actual card art in the essay, because obviously it's just showing Pilaf, Mai, and Shu, because a lot of the time when they do these card arts in the essay, it obviously just shows the characters and it doesn't show the background or the effects in the card. So, you know, it's kind of funny because it takes out the main thing that is attacking in here, which is the Pilaf machine, because it's in the background of the card, as you can see on the side here. So that is kind of funny, I'm not gonna lie, but it's also weird how like half the electricity is just there. It's like they just took one frame from this, which is I'm sure what they did, and then just kind of had that be the card art that pops up on the screen. I think it's just kind of funny. They have these very nice anime-esque backgrounds, and I love how fluid it is with the blue Pilaf machine obviously flipping around, and I like the little air effects as well. It looks very, very nice, and obviously crashing into the enemy there, it looks really, really good. It's very simple, right? But again, it has that nice little bit of impact. It really feels like it hits the enemy hard, and I think it works well. It is kind of funny that it keeps flipping in the background with obviously the KO'd character in the foreground there. That is a little bit goofy for sure. And it is kind of cool that obviously, since this card starts off as just Pilaf and then later on becomes the Pilaf gang, right? It is cool that for the 12 key super, even though all three of them are in it, right, where they're obviously kind of all there in the beginning, it then sort of just becomes Pilaf super attack towards the end of it. So I do think that that is a pretty cool little detail, right? Alright, so moving on now to the 18 key super attack. This is almost kind of like the version where if instead of just Pilaf attacking, right, this time they combine. So you have a very similar, right, beginning where this time though, instead of Pilaf pointing, they obviously zoom in and then have a fade to white, which looks good. Funny JoJo menacing text. And you obviously have the transformation sequence, which again, for this whole sequence, all the different robot mechanical bits here, right? Pilaf's arms going in, right? You have obviously Mai's mech here transforming a little bit with everything moving inside to make the middle. And then I believe, oh yeah, that's right. And then Shu is on the bottom. I forgot about that. I think quite literally out of this whole transformation animation, the only thing that like I could even like try and say was like maybe something they could have done like a hair better if I really had to nitpick it, right, is like the feet kind of going on the ground there when they move from this position to this position is a little weird, right? I feel like there maybe could have been like one frame in between this, right, where it kind of is just a little bit more natural movement. But again, I'm literally like grasping at straws here, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, as it lands, I like the little shake on the earth. And of course, with the final combination, you get that really cool impact frame, obviously kind of giving the silhouette of the Pilaf machine there, right, in white. Let me go back to that. Right, obviously after the shake, then you have that bam sort of effect to kind of imply, you know, oh, the final mech is made. It's pretty cool. Then, of course, we now have the three of them combined attacking together. So, of course, you have Mai's Claw with some very nice speed lines to kind of imply, you know, how quickly it's grabbing the enemy. And, of course, when it grabs, you do have the anime motion lines. But I gotta say, this may be one of the only times that I feel like the sprite might just look halfway decent. It kind of just looks like a toddler grabbing an action figure, which is basically how this would be size-wise in comparison, right? I don't think that this looks too bad for the sprite. Obviously, it's not exact, but am I giving the stinky sprites a dub today? No, I still think it looks a little silly. But it definitely looks better than some essays, for sure. This will definitely look weird, though, with giant characters. That I can guarantee you. Nonetheless, though, obviously the Pilaf machine throw in Goku there, right? That looks pretty good. I think it does look a little bit choppy, I suppose, in our slowed down here, but when you actually watch this in full motion, I think the motion is pretty fluid. And then, of course, you have the final bit there with, I love, by the way, the energy effects and how these look with that actually charging up there. With obviously the little bit of pink, right, kind of coming out of where the blast is going to exit. And then, of course, you have the bits on the chest, or well, I guess would be the chest of the robot, right, kind of open up with the lights to kind of imply that's where, like, the energy forms. And the actual energy effects look fantastic, right? I like the little bits of electricity to kind of give it that little bit of extra. And then, of course, you have the laser beam and the rocket fire out, which looks pretty good, right? Smoke effect coming off the rocket also looks good. I like this little bit here. This could maybe serve to have a little bit more like shadows, I guess would maybe be the only thing. Again, I'm really grasping at straws here. But obviously, a lot of the time when Dokkan does this stuff, especially with modern essays, they have a lot of harsh shadows when like a blast is coming from the front of the character. Then obviously the back would be a little bit darker. But I think this looks good, right? Overall, I like the perspective. I like the actual blast, and I like the little explosion effect at the end too, right? I think it all looks pretty good. And you can see, right, that even though you can't really see, I guess, the bottom blast from the robot, you can really see that, right, from those two parts on the chest, it is kind of blasting forward. So it's cool that you can actually kind of tell that, even though you're obviously not directly seeing it. And I believe then, right, this actually ends up being their KO screen, which is pretty cool because obviously that's a nice little KO screen. Whether that is unintentional or not, I'm not sure, but I would think if it looks like that, right, it probably is intentional. So yeah, honestly, with these, I'm pretty impressed. I'm not gonna lie. I was expecting these to be pretty good, right? Because when we got Jackie Chun, however long ago that was now, like I think a couple years by this point, right? Or maybe a year or two. I was expecting, you know, these to be good because those were pretty good. But honestly, I think my expectations have kind of been blown out of the water, to be 100% honest with you. I think these are actually really, really high quality animations, which is kind of crazy, not only to say that the Pilaf gang, which I really like these characters in Dragon Ball, they're very funny, right? Not only do they have a great set of animations under their belt, but a World Tournament LR having more high quality animations than some of the summonable units that we've gotten this year. I just kind of can't believe it, honestly. It's crazy the absolute state of Dokkan Battle that we're in, where this is a possibility, where the Pilaf Gang World Tournament LR can have better animations than the brand new super hype festival character. It's just kind of wild to me, to be honest with you, but I am glad that they got really good animations, and like I said, when it comes to Dragon Ball, OG Dragon Ball specifically related stuff, a lot of the time it is kind of relegated to free-to-play units and World Tournament stuff, so if it's not going to be summonable animations, I'm glad that at least it is certainly getting the respect and quality that it deserves, because by golly, these are really good. Like I said, there's maybe 2 nitpicks I had in this whole video, and I feel like just, even though the animations are nothing too insane, everything is just fluid and clean, which is really all I can ask for in a Dokkan SA. If it at least does that, then I would say it's a good animation. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think of these animations in the comment section below. Let me know if you are going to be playing this World Tournament. I know, unfortunately, this one is on the same day as Spider-Man 2 and Mario Wonder. So I can't imagine that many people are going to be playing World Tournament during this time. But, hey, if you want the LR, I guess this is a good opportunity to get it, because not many people will probably be playing the World Tournament. So thank you all so much for watching again. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. And we'll be back with another animation analysis video whenever that may be. I'm actually not sure what's technically up next down the pipeline, so it'll be a surprise, I guess, for the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one. Dokkan Assets out. Peace.